And I'm back again with another video from Pompano, Florida. This one is going to be on the Captain Dan, which is so memorable and one of those wrecks that changed the way I dive. So I'm going to focus a little bit more on what's happening in the video in this one, but I'll try to put some useful information about going to this area and diving as the video progresses as I think of it. But here, as you saw in the illustration, we did a free ascent, which is pretty common out there. So if you're not used to it, be prepared. You just drop down off the boat and literally ride whatever current is there, whether it's strong or a weak current. They kind of gauge it from the surface and then drop you in, they believe, is the most optimal location, and then you just free fall right down to the wreck. And I have, out of the few dozen dives that I've done there, I have never missed a wreck, so they know what they're doing. So on this one, just like the Okinawa, we're out there for the first time since doing my advanced wreck class, and I really wanted to get into all the rooms and inside this thing as much as I can. Most of the class is focused on the wheelhouse or the tower, essentially. That's where you do all of your blind navigation, and where you have to really show that you know or can navigate through a wreck blind and or a no light situation. Which, I guess if it was dark enough, and there was no light, you'd be blind. So blind. Anyhow, I decided to start in the back of the boat because I didn't want to be in the students' way that would take in the class. I knew, based off of our class that I took, where they would be. So I generally, on all the dives that I did, I stayed away. I stayed away from them to not disturb the classes as it was going on. So here I'm just working my way from back of the boat, dropped down in the stern, and I'm trying to work my way towards the front without exiting the boat, and just kind of finding my way through the corridors, the passages that sailors would have taken if they were still on the boat. Just because oftentimes I just like to imagine what they saw when they were there, doing their thing on their daily routine and walking these passages day in and day out. It's kind of cool that kind of is fascinating to me. So here I'm already probably more than halfway back to the bow, or I'm underneath the superstructure, I think, the wheelhouse area. It's not a very big boat. I couldn't tell you exactly how long it is, but it's not very long. You could probably swim from bow to stern in like 2 minutes, at my pace anyway. And it's not very wide. It can't be more than like 40, 50 feet wide. And I'm probably overestimating. So where am I here? I don't know. So I'm still trying to work my way forward. I was hoping to also get some video of the students as they were going through, because I knew at least a couple of them and I figured they would appreciate having some video of themselves going through the training. If you notice here, there's a lot of silt. That's sand and silt, and it's you know, a lot of the boat that's just decaying. It's rusting away, and it just falls there, and you see all the particulate in the water there, and it just settles. And if you stir it up, it could be a bad day for you. At best, destroy visibility for yourself. Oh, look, there's one of the guys taking the class. There's a line run here, so here they're just doing a like a practice run, going through the front of the boat, the front deck, through the corridor, up the stairs, and up another set of stairs, and into the wheelhouse area. So you get to do that a few times, and then you know, once you feel like you've done it enough times, they ask you, ready to do it blind. Most people, at least in my class and that class, they all said yes, because nobody wants to be the guy. But you know, if you do feel like you need to run through it one or two more times, they would not have a problem with that, because you know, at the end of the day, they're setting you up for success, not for failure. So this is one of the corridors I was talking about. This one is on the port side. The corridor they use to work their way up to the wheelhouse is on the starboard side, the right side of the boat. So I was trying to, again, stay out of the way. But what was cool about this, and I was glad that I came this way, is you'll see in a minute here, there was a huge Goliath grouper in this room. This is the area directly under the wheelhouse. And I did not notice this thing until I come back around. There was he was just hanging out up there, probably trying to stay away from all the other divers. And then here I come, and you know, probably startled him a little bit. And it's hard to tell from this video, but that fish was about as big as I was. I mean, that thing, I probably could barely get my hands around it. And you'll notice right here, it goes through this manhole. I'm going to catch him again later on in the video. Going through there, he's hanging out right there just above that hole. I peek over that piece of sheet metal, and you see him go down that hole, that manhole. And those, if you know anything about ships, they're made to allow access for people. Like, people crawl through there, you know, and it's a tight fit for a grown man, and this thing barely fit it through there as well. So it kind of gives you an idea of how big that Goliath grouper was. But not the biggest one I've seen, but definitely the biggest one that swam around like that, you know, close proximity. Really cool. Here I'm dropping down into the front cargo hold. There's this cutout here. As you can see in this illustration, this is pretty much what I did. I came out that left corridor, down the cargo hold, through that restriction there, the cutout, which is fairly tight, especially in side mount. I have to go in diagonally. And then I just did a quick circle or tour of the front bow area, and back out again. I think I went out the starboard hull side, down through the hull, because there's a giant hole there. But again, still trying to stay out of the students' way. I knew they were going to come in here, but I didn't suspect they were going to come in here on the first dive anyway. And I remember when I did my class, we didn't get all the way to the front of it, probably because of what you're looking at here. It is very, very silty, and you see all the entanglement hazards. I think they try to keep that to a minimum, at least for the first few dives. But in any case, I think the entanglement hazards and just the obstacles that you have to overcome going through this wreck, I believe, are what made it so appealing to me. We're all, we all have our concerns, and we have fears about the type of diving that we do or the type of diving that we want to get into. And overcoming those fears is huge in terms of doing the type of diving that you like to do. So doing the training on this wreck and doing the type of training that we did, it really I learned a lot, and I felt like I could do these types of dives confidently and without of getting myself into trouble. So, having said that, coming out the bottom hull area that I mentioned, I'm just coming out here on the starboard side of the boat, and I should be running into the students because they're just behind that cargo hold area. Probably crawling through those hallways. Oh, there they are right there. So now I'm going to... Oh, this is the second dive. Okay. So we came down again, another free ascent, and then I'm going to drop down the stern again and work my way down that port side corridor all the way to the front. Mainly because I wanted to see if that Goliath grouper was still hanging out. As I mentioned before, I did my training in side mount, and I do all my diving on side mount, even off of a boat. It just works for me. It's not for everyone. Most people that I encounter either think I'm crazy, or they look away disapprovingly, or what have you. It doesn't bother me. Again, I'm very comfortable diving the way that I dive, and I don't feel like I need to change just because others don't appreciate it, or don't like it, or don't understand it, or find flaws in it just for the sake of finding flaws. So I do me, they do what works for them, and at the end of the day, that's what you need to do as well. Find what feels good, find what feels comfortable, find what works for you, and practice. Anyway, so I'm working my way down this corridor. As you can see, there's a lot of entanglement hazards there, a lot of walls that are collapsing, a lot of issues going on here. This wreck is definitely not for a recreational diver that dives only a handful of times a year. This type of diving really does require quite a bit of practice. Anything you learn can become, can diminish. They say that there is no non-perishable skill. If you don't use it, you lose it. So definitely don't go in these places without proper training. But look at this fish. Good grief. That thing could have probably swallowed half of my body without even batting an eyelash. Not the last time I see him. I think he pops his head out one more time for me. On to the starboard corridor. Here comes one of the students coming down the hallway. I'm not sure if this is one of my buddies or not. But I believe he's doing the blind navigation. You see him feeling around, yeah. So he's got a... Nope, he's not wearing the blackout mask. Right now he's doing his trial run. No line, but he knows the path. Now he has to commit that path to memory by touch and feel. So he's feeling along the way. He's going to try to memorize some points that he's going to try to recall once the blackout mask, once he's blindfolded, so that he can find his way out by just pure feel, touch, and memory, which of course he accomplishes. Now we're towards the end of that second dive, and if you know anything about currents, you know that when the fish are standing that still and they're all facing in the same direction, you probably got a pretty good current going on. So they're trying to stay head first into it, and in front of that superstructure, in front of the wheelhouse, so they don't have to exert too much. But anyhow, because we do a free ascent, we have to do a free descent. I'm not sure if I said ascent at the beginning of the video. You have to do a free ascent. So we deploy SMBs from the bottom, kind of ride that up, let the current take you, and then when you get close to your first decompression stop, you let the SMB go and then adjust points accordingly. And here they're just hanging out, doing their deco stop. I'm just going to hang out and watch them go through the motions, go through some skills and stuff like that. Very cool dive, very cool training. If you're interested, definitely check it out. Have a good one.